What is child support? Child support is a court order for a certain amount of money divorced or separated parents must pay each month to help cover their children's living expenses. In California and other states, the law sets out specific guidelines that courts must follow when determining how much child support parents must pay. Under the guidelines, a judge will consider factors such as each parent's income, the number of children, and the percentage of time each parent spends with the children. Courts will generally use a computer program that incorporates these factors to calculate child support. Child support versus emotional support. All dependent children thrive when they receive emotional, financial, and medical support from both of their parents. However, there is an imbalance in the current laws and policies that places more importance on financial support and in child support enforcement than on emotional support, even though they are both equally important and inextricably bound. If a child support obligor doesn't pay their court-ordered child support, they can face severe penalties, including jail. And yet, when that parent is denied their parenting time and cut off from their children, there is no state agency they can go to for help. Instead, that parent is faced with yet another court battle, which is costly and often unsuccessful because judges can use their discretion as to whether to hold a parent in contempt or just give them a warning. Still, parents will continue to fight these custody battles as long as they are financially able to. Studies show that parenting time denial has reached epidemic levels, and that many child support obligors fail to pay their child support in part because they are spending thousands of dollars in legal fees just trying to remain a part of their children's lives. If a parent, often fathers, has to choose between spending their money on the legal costs associated with court appearances to observe their parenting time, or face the punitive measures associated with the failure to pay their child support, the decision is an easy one. Child support must be paid and paid on time. In too many cases, the end of the parent-child relationship comes down to a lack of financial resources. And what is the cost of separating fathers from their children? Every single example of social pathology: teen pregnancies, drug and alcohol abuse, low self-esteem, gang violence, school dropouts, and suicides is related to family breakdown and father absence. All the more reason why emotional support from fit and loving parents is just as important as child support. Our family laws and policies need to take parenting time interference as seriously as they take failure to pay child support, and allow both parents to be a meaningful part of the lives of the children they are mandated to support. Punitive measures for not paying child support. Child support systems that rely on punitive enforcement measures against parents who cannot pay their child support often harm rather than help children with a parent who are low income, unemployed, have an illness or injury, and/or are disabled. Parents contribute to their children's upbringing by providing cash payments made through the courts, formal support, or given directly to the mother, informal support, almost to the exclusion of a third type of support, in-kind support, spending time with their children. When parents cannot pay formal support in full, for example, when the child support order is set too high relative to the non-custodial parent's income, child support agencies can take punitive enforcement measures against them. Such measures include adding fines, penalties, and interest, suspension, revocation, or denial of various licenses, professionals, drivers, hunting, fishing, boating, garnishment of wages including unemployment and workers' compensation, denial of tax refunds, revocation of passport, having a lien placed on their property to cover payment. State child support offices can intercept parents' state tax refunds and apply them back to child support. Federal law permits the interception of federal tax refunds for the payment of past due child support. Child support payments can significantly impact your credit score, and jail. And yet, incarceration doesn't help a parent spend more time with his or her kids, or make it any easier to find a job after being released. In a society largely reliant on driving, a license suspension is a harsh punishment. Any parent who loses a license must resort to relying on often unreliable transit systems, expensive transportation companies such as Ubers or taxis, or risk getting a misdemeanor for driving with a suspended license. Parents can quickly find themselves without a job and unable to go find a job, and predictably are even less able to make their child support payments. For far too many people, their inability to pay child support becomes a revolving door to jail. Most child support systems do not address why parents do not pay, or whether parents can support children in alternative ways such as parenting time, because in the court system, Visitation rights are entirely separate from child support obligations. Child support policy's only concern is for non-custodial parents to provide their children financial support without ever recognizing that emotional support and parenting time is also child support, and that setting child support orders too high may be counterproductive, resulting in lower payments and compliance and less regular payments. Do any of these punitive measures make a parent more capable of paying? Of course not, and there's no evidence that these punitive measures work. So why are the child support agencies overzealous? It's simple. States make federal money off the collection of child support, although the Child Support Enforcement Agency overall often loses money for the taxpayers. It's unrealistic to expect that a parent is never going to be unemployed, ill, in an accident, or become disabled throughout the years they pay child support. Most child support systems do not address why parents do not pay, or whether parents can support children in alternative ways such as parenting time. Child support policies typically expect non-custodial parents to provide their children financial support at all times, regardless of any unfortunate circumstances. Reasons why people fall behind on child support. One false premise is that non-custodial parents, mostly men, have the money to pay child support. They just don't want to pay. Through research, we now know that the major reason some men don't pay is that they can't. Child support doesn't just stop when people lose their jobs, self-employment fails, injuries are sustained, and when disability occurs. And yet, there's this unrealistic expectation that parents paying child support will always be capable of paying. During tough financial times, it may become necessary to request a downward modification in child support. How easy is it for a child support obligor to get a downward modification when their income drops? Modifications to child support will not happen automatically. One of the parents must request a change by a formal motion to the court. The burden is on the person filing for the reduction to establish that their own conduct is not to blame for the reduced income. Nobody likes going back to court. It's expensive and time-consuming. And unfortunately, not every application for a reduction is granted. Child support agency blunders. We often hear about the negative effects of child support agency blunders on women and children, but we seldom hear of the negative consequences of agency blunders from the perspective of 14 million non-custodial parents who are mostly fathers. What happens to child support payers when the child support office bungles or fails to distribute collected child support money? Innocent parents can be subjected to any number of penalties, when in reality they paid the support money owed. Most payers who fall behind on child support have led law-abiding lives and legitimately fear for their safety and mental stability if they are incarcerated. States often fail in keeping interstate child support records straight. Child support money can be paid in one state and reported as owed in another. When custodial parents are led to believe the money wasn't paid, this can make the relationship between parents deteriorate, thereby negatively affecting the children. In many cases where a custodial parent is on welfare, the father's child support payments go directly to the state for welfare reimbursement, not to the children. Many custodial parents may be unaware that the non-custodial parent is paying, because the money is going to the state. Numerous newspaper reports over the years have revealed that child support agencies are rife with billing errors. In a child support survey conducted by the American Coalition for Fathers and Children, it found that 55% of child support payers say they have experienced billing errors by a child support agency. Among those who tried to get the agency to fix the error, 61% were unsuccessful. In 43% of cases, the payer had been subjected to punitive measures as a result of a billing error. Adding to the problems incarcerated parents face is that they are often unaware that child support obligations can continue to accrue when they are detained. When this occurs, getting retroactive modifications of a child support order is nearly impossible under the Bradley Amendment of 1986 that prohibits the retroactive state modification of child support arrears. What improvements could the current child support system make? All dependent children have the right to be emotionally, physically, and financially supported by their parents. The core problem with child support laws and policies is that there's too much emphasis on enforcement and not enough focus on getting non-custodial parents, mostly fathers, involved in their children's lives. While the issues of child support and parenting may be in the same divorce or paternity settlement, in most jurisdictions, the two rights and obligations are completely separate and individually enforceable. Custodial parents may not withhold contact to punish a non-custodial parent for failing to pay some or all child support required. Conversely, a non-custodial parent is required to pay child support even if they are being denied parenting time and or visitation. The current system fixates on enforcement while ignoring parental involvement, and yet children need both emotional and financial support from their parents. The current punitive measures in place for non-payment of child support have not and will not make a child support obligor more capable of paying, and in most cases will ultimately hurt and not help children and families. And in the article, Unintended Consequences, a critical review of child support enforcement by Clifford F. Thies and John Wynne, it states that Black fathers perceive the child support system to be hostile and incapable of responding to the vagaries and economic circumstances often faced by low-income Black men. Without a doubt, reform is needed to make the child support system more rational and workable. State and federal officials should consider several areas of reform to prevent unintended consequences for families served by the child support system. Allow timely modifications. Limit punitive enforcement measures. No parent should lose their license or go to jail for being poor. Every 4 years, child support agencies need to review their guidelines to ensure that non-custodial parents' standard of living doesn't fall below custodial households with all their social benefits, social programs, and tax benefits. Stop imputing income and imposing child support orders that are uncollectible. Guidelines need to be reconstructed to make sure that both households can survive and prosper. A solution to all this? Try building a realistic child support system that doesn't make it so difficult for non-custodial parents to support their children, both emotionally and financially. To learn more about child support, visit our website at familyreunionusa.org under the Parenting Issues tab. You can contact us via phone number at 661-829-6847 or by email at director@familyreunionusa.org. You can also check out other educational videos under the Resources tab. For more information, subscribe to our free weekly newsletter by going to the Join Us tab on our website.